This NFL Week 10 Player Props edition of the Propcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is offering new users a $1,000 risk-free bet. Sign up today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. And we're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Use promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase today. Welcome, everyone, to the Propcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Friday, November the 10th, currently 2:13 on the East Coast. Here to get into our NFL Week 10 player props. And joining me here to help me break it all down, I got my guy here with me, of course, on the NBA Propcast as well. It's Chris B. Cap. And Chris, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
What's going on? It's a beautiful day to make some money, and we always like to get ahead of these lines, which is why we do the show on Friday, because a lot of the times these lines move, and we've been cashing. Hopefully, we can kind of keep it going today. Always excited to talk NFL, man. Let's jump into it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Thursday night football was a stinker of a game. I think as expected when you have two games that were combined for 3 wins, combined 3 of 14. But the Bears get the job done at home in a final of 16-13. Depending on the number that you got on the spread, at least you either pushed with the Bears or you got hooked on that 3.5, or you took the Panthers plus 3.5. You definitely got to the window there. A field goal victory by the Chicago Bears. But Chris, I'm a little salty today. It's a very fine margin when we talk about winning or losing days in sports betting overall. And my 3 props, Cole Kmet got there to the window. I know you gave out the pass attempts over for Bryce Young. I bet that as well, but officially for the show, I gave out Bryce Young over 21.5 completions, and he finished the game with 21. And then Darnell Mooney was not even remotely close to a long reception for himself last night. So the hook got me last night from having a profitable Thursday night football to being in the red. But it's all good. Hopefully we can bounce back, or I can bounce back at least on these Sunday games. How did Thursday night football turn out for you, Chris?
Yeah, we were a hook away from sweeping the board on the actual player price that we gave out. Can I just take 1 second and shout out to my guy, Eddie Pinero, the kicker that is, and I will be tracking this now, if I didn't find it until, I had to do some research because I'm obligated to do this podcast with you, but it led me to some money. So shout out to everybody who knows who Eddie Pinero is now. It's something that I'll be riding. This dude is, well, not even just him, but the opposing kicker that kicks, against the Chicago Bears is kind of killing it this year. So I will be continuing to kind of ride that train and, definitely look into it a little bit. But yeah, shout out to Eddie Pinero. Adam Thielen, over 6.5 receptions. He finished right on the hook at 6. And then like you mentioned, a couple things guaranteed in life. If we got death, we got taxes, and we got, Bryce Young just going out there and chucking that thing as many times as he can until his arm hurts. So over his past attempts, another winner. I think that's probably about 7-1 on the season, so something else I'll continue to be looking at as well, even in the game that they led from the beginning. So pretty good night overall, and definitely looking forward to kind of keep it going here.
Yeah, we definitely get to the point like at this juncture of the season, we're like about 50 to 55% through of this midway point of the season, I should say, is where I feel like where we start really gathering that data, for a lot of these respective teams, and then, try to capitalize that in these weeks where about week 10 to 15 is really that range to really, get those data points going, and hopefully we can exploit the books and find some more winners. So we'll do it as we usually do, give out our player props. We'll get to our touchdown score prop bets as well. And then at the end, we'll put together a price picks entry for the NFL games as well. So Chris, let's just kick it off, my man. Let's get over to our player prop number 1, my man. What do you got?
All right, so let's go. This game really stuck out to me the most, when I was doing my research. And this game is the Jacksonville Jaguars at home against the San Francisco 49ers this week. I like Purdy in this game, and I'm going right back to the pass attempts over just because Jacksonville, another one of those really, really solid defenses that's forcing teams to pass the ball. We know how good they are. You look at them, this was an easy cap, right? Purdy, he's only two of 5 to this number in his last few games, last 7 games, but Jacksonville is so good against the rush. That you can, make this 2 for 1. So if you're listening in, then maybe you'll hear another prop in this game as well. But Purdy over his 30.5 pass attempts. Jacksonville, look at them, 41.8 pass attempts is what opposing teams are having to pass the ball for because they're so good against the rush. Man, you go back and just look at those numbers, and this one seems like an easy cash for me. I'm not gonna go through all the numbers and rattle them off, but yeah, teams are, especially when Jacksonville is at home, right? Because their defense typically plays a little bit better. San Francisco's offense has struggled throughout, on the road a little bit more. So, I like them to, I know they got Christian McCaffrey back there in the backfield. He's probably the best running back that we have in the NFL. But I do think that Jacksonville also understands that. And they'll want to slow Purdy down. They'll want to slow Christian McCaffrey down probably make Purdy have to beat him through the air in this one, So give me Brock Purdy over his 30.5 pass attempts. You can get that. It's not juice right now. Betway, if you guys have access to that sports book, it is legal here in Virginia. Minus 105. So not a lot of juice at all. Give me Purdy over his to have at least 31 pass attempts.
Yeah, and this correlates to my first player products in this same game as well. So hopefully some of those pass attempts turn into completions going to Christian McCaffrey in this game. And I was looking at
that's mine. That's mine. You got it over yards or
you've been doing so well. I had to copy something from you and give out a winner here. So I'm gonna copy yours. I looked at Christian McCaffrey in this game to go over on his receiving yards. Saw this number around
30.5. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, I thought this number was really low, number one, because we know what Christian McCaffrey can do, not only run the football, but also, pass catching the football. And I know that the San Francisco 49ers have been dealing with injuries with, McCaffrey and more importantly, Deebo Samuel and things like that. But I feel like this was a much needed bye week for the San Francisco 49ers after losing 3 straight games against the Browns, the Vikings, and the Cincinnati Bengals, where they scored 17 points each of those games, where we were so used to seeing 49ers putting up 30 points with Brock Purdy as a starting quarterback. But I think this just kind of gave an opportunity for the 49ers to kind of reset, kind of collect themselves, get some of these guys healthy, give them some extra time off. So I think that's going to be boding well for the San Francisco 49ers coming into this game. But more importantly here, we're talking about Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. I know the first couple of weeks during the regular season, he really didn't get over this number of 30.5 for his receiving yards, but go back against the Giants, 34 receiving yards, against the Arizona Cardinals, 7 receptions, 71 yards. Last 2 weeks before their bye week against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are a team that are not very good against the running back position, 6 receptions, 64 yards. In the prior week against the Minnesota Vikings, he also had 3 receptions, 51 yards. And then what you mentioned, Chris, about this Jaguars team being really good against defense, a rushing defense, not so much against the running backs, at least through the air, right? So you take a look, targets for running backs against the Jacksonville Jaguars, allowing the second most at around close to 9 per game. They're allowing 7.5 receptions to the running back position as well. More importantly, they're allowing 49.38 receiving yards to that running back position, which is the third most in the entire league, trailing only the Bears and the Los Angeles Chargers. So I think it's an opportunity for Christian McCaffrey to come into this game, take advantage of the Jacksonville Jaguars' lack there of defense, at least through the air against running backs, and we know what Christian McCaffrey can do. So I know the targets are going to be there for him, and this is a guy that only needs probably maybe, again, 3 catches to get over this number because he's that versatile, is Christian McCaffrey. So my first one correlated to what Brock Purdy should be able to do in this game, and you're in agreement with me as well as one of your player props, CMC over 30.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I love it. For everything that you mentioned, you had some notes that I didn't have, but I'll also throw out a couple. A lot of the stuff you had, I did have, but you look at Jacksonville because they are, you got to find that weakness, right? We know that they're such a good team being able to stop the rush, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can stop the pass from the running back position. So that's what I went and kind of looked at, right? 6 of the 8 weeks, they've actually allowed teams to go over this low number of 30.5 receiving yards. I do think, that this is one that while it's out now, a lot of people aren't putting in their Sunday bets right now, right? Like they still, kind of wait until Sunday. But this is one I think that will move. So if you like the number, I think you definitely want to grab it now for Christian McCaffrey to at least get 31 receiving yards in this game.
Yeah, I agree. So hopefully it is a big receiving yards or game, at least for Mr. Christian McCaffrey in this game. All right, Chris, before we get over to some more player props for the Sunday games, for NFL Week 10, let me tell everyone about Bet365. We're brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is the world's favorite sportsbook, trusted by over 88 million players worldwide. Props, sides, totals, live betting. Bet365 has you covered. If you like boosts, you're going to love Bet365, like a 30% boost on your NFL same game parlay. Plus, they even have an early payout offer. If your team goes up by 17 points, you're getting paid out. Sign up today and choose from 2 bonus offers, either a $1,000 first bet safety net or bet $5, get 150 in bonus bets. Just head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. Again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. Problem gambling? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And we're also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, they're a lot of fun if you haven't already used Prize Picks. I mean, look, with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League. So, for example, tonight, if you like Luka to go over his points prop, like both Chris and I do, and you also think that, like we mentioned, Christian McCaffrey is going to have a big day with his receiving yards on Sunday. Well, you can now combine those two over on the Specials Leagues tab in Prize Picks. And if you want to play along some of Prize Picks' favorite players, like rapper Meek Mill, you can now find the community plays under the promos tab on the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy that your entries stay in play even if one of your plays get injured. For example, I had a Prize Picks entry back on Wednesday night. I had Malcolm Brogdon for his points and assists to go over. Malcolm Brogdon got injured within that first quarter, and he didn't return in the second half. And that player got rebooted for me. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So again, if you have a player that goes in that first half, they get injured, they don't return in that second half, that player is simply rebooted. We'll put together a Prize Pick entry at the end of the episode here, so stay tuned for that. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/SGPN and use code SGPN for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/SGPN using code SGPN. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, Chris, let's get over to our next player prop. So you gave out the 2 with Purdy and CMC, so I'll give out my second one here for the NFL Week 10 games. Let me get back to my notes here. So let me go to a quarterback prop here. I'm looking at Josh Dobbs here, man. Over 27.5 rushing yards for Josh Dobbs. Last week, he had come in for, I think it was Jared Hall of the Minnesota Vikings, who got injured with a concussion. And Josh Dobbs, when he was with the Arizona Cardinals before he did get traded to the Minnesota Vikings with the injury to Kirk Cousins, he was really utilizing his legs, getting the rushing yards. So in 6, he's gone over this projection in 6 of the 10 games that he's played this season. In one of those 4 games that he didn't get there over this projection of 27.5, he finished with 26 yards, so only 2 away. Now, I know also the Saints are allowing the 4th most rushing yards to the quarterback position last week. Tyson Badgett rushed for 70 yards on 8 attempts against the New Orleans Saints. Let's go back to week 7. Trevor Lawrence of Jacksonville Jaguars, we just talked about that game. He had 8 attempts for 59 yards. So I think that if Josh Dobbs is able to get in the realm of 5 to 6 carries here, I think he definitely gets over this number of 27.5 right now for Josh Dobbs. So I'm going to go Josh Dobbs over 27.5 rushing yards here. Chris, what do you think about that?
I think it's liquid gold. I was watching some of this game. I was watching some of the game last week, man. This dude looked really, really good. I know. Maybe we say it's fool's gold. Maybe we say, this dude is just, destined for greatness, and he has tremendous work ethic and a lot of faith and confidence in himself. So A lot of the times I was seeing him drop back. In this count, I mean, we're not talking about the greatest offensive line in NFL history either. So I think that presents more so for just more scrambling opportunities for him. And he kind of low key got a little speed on him, as most black quarterbacks in the NFL do. So I really like Dobbs, man. I think looking at his rushing yards in this spot is a really really good look. I like it a lot.
All right, Chris, take us over to player prop number 3 for you, man. What do you got?
So I think I got a buy low spot here, I think Bijan is in a nice bounce back spot. I cashed on him a couple weeks ago in his under, and I know last week he didn't even lead the backfield. Tyler Allgeier, I think, had more rush attempts than he did, but it's about matchup, right? And I feel like I'm getting a discount because he hasn't been performing. He's only over his rushing yards, which is at 55.5 on PointsBet right now. A little juice at minus 120, but I would be comfortable playing this up, 2 or 3 yards as well. But like I said, only over in 3 of his only 9-game career. But like I said, better matchup. You go through and just kind of look at Arizona. We know Arizona really really struggles, specifically against the rush. One of the worst rush defenses we've seen in quite some time. I'm trying to get those numbers up real quick because I did have them up. Let's see. So San Francisco is giving not San Francisco. I'm sorry. Carolina giving up 131.9 yards per game on the ground, So that number is actually 28. So only what 5 teams are worse than they are. Last 3 has looked a little better at 107, but to me it just kind of feels like a big Bijan type game. I think you give him the ball, and I think we see increased attempts here. And going through and just looking at this defense last week, it was Ford who did have 20 attempts, although he did only finish with 44 yards, but they did kind of split with him and Kareem Hunt. And I know Tyler Allgeier has that ability to split with him as well, but Gus Edwards, 80 yards. That was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Kenneth Walker, I know we were on him in that game for his yards and his touchdown, 105 yards in that spot. So, just kind of going back and looking at some of these. Kareem Williams as well, 158 yards. So we know what talent Bijan is, right? Being selected so high in the draft, he was the odds-on favorite to win Rookie of the Year, and I think he reminds us, just a tad bit. He's probably not going to win it because C.J. Stroud's looked amazing at this point. Yeah. But I know that put a smile on your face, But but I do like the spot for Bijan a lot this week, I couldn't talk you off his I was going to say rebounds plus assists, but I couldn't talk you off his rushing plus receiving yards in this spot. I think it just kind of sets up for him to be on the field a lot, and some dump downs as well. Taylor Heineke will be quarterbacking his team, and I think you do probably want to protect him a little bit in the spot as well. So a lot of hands off to Bijan, I think is in the game plan here.
I say you are a very trusting man here, Chris, especially putting your faith in Arthur Smith to find a way to get Bijan Robinson the ball here. But again, we talk about it. Look, he still got 11 attempts last week against the Minnesota Vikings, right? 11 attempts in the prior game against the Tennessee Titans. It was that one game where he had the injury, or he wasn't feeling well, one of the two, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And lo and behold, that was probably the only week I had a Bijan Robinson prop in, and that ended up happening. But this just feels like a buy low spot. And I know they're going up against the Arizona Cardinals. Like you mentioned, they just haven't been very good. I mean, in any facet of the game thus far this season, whether it's been on offense or whether it's been on defense, for the Arizona Cardinals. So I think that if Arthur Smith is smart, they'll run the football here, whether it is with hopefully Bijan Robinson, whether it is with Tyler Allgeier. I think that is something that they have to recognize here, especially, trying to stay competitive in that NFC South division. But buy low spot here for Bijan. I could talk you off, but I can't talk you off because we're all just kind of waiting for that explosion game from Bijan Robinson. So again, this week just might be it for him going up against the Arizona Cardinals. All right, Chris, before we get over to our next player props, let me tell everyone about Game Time. Look, we're in that part of the year where we have basketball going on, NBA, college basketball. The NBA season is in full swing as well. We have college football going on as well. And if you're not you don't want to get out to a sporting event. Maybe there's a comedy show in town, or there's a music concert that you want to get out to, or even theater that's in your area. Let Game Time take away the stress from that and let you enjoy the experience of that event that you're going to have, because buying tickets to an event shouldn't have to be stressful. And that's where Game Time comes in. Their app is so easy to use. They have some great features on there. They have flash deals, last minute tickets right up to the event. And it's easy to find and buy tickets, like I mentioned, for every type of event in your area. Um, so forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. And again, like I mentioned, you get flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, also concerts, comedy shows, and theater, and much more near you. And get this, the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. As I mentioned, you get images of your seat before you actually buy the ticket, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set. And the best part as well is those tickets are sent directly to your phone on that Game Time app, so you don't have to haggle through your email box. You don't have to wait for them to come in the mailbox. Right there on your phone, stress-free experience with Game Time. So all you gotta do is download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And we're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data, and enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bet's revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, Chris, let me get over to my next player prop in the NFL Week 10. I am going to go to... I'm gonna say that same game with the Vikings and the Saints, and I'm looking at TJ Hawkinson in this game, 49.5 for his receiving yards in this game. And I know, number one, that the Saints are a really good defense against the tight end position, but I think for me, this just comes down to the fact that when we saw Josh Dobbs come in for the Vikings last week against the Atlanta Falcons, TJ Hawkinson was targeted 12 times in that game by Dobbs for 7 receptions that turned into 69 receiving yards for TJ Hawkinson. Also, if we go back to his time with the Arizona Cardinals, I know that Hollywood Brown led this team by far in targets. But if we take a look at the 2 tight ends as well on the Arizona Cardinals, Zach Ertz had 43 targets, and also Trey McBride, 40 targets as well. So Josh Dobbs loved the tight ends. I think this is a buy low spot, but you also take a look at what TJ Hawkinson has done over the past several weeks for this offense, especially without Justin Jefferson in the lineup. The targets have been there for him over the last 5 weeks. He's had at least 8 targets for himself, and he's had double-digit targets in 2 out of the last 3 weeks. He's gone over this projection of 49.5 in 5 straight games, 69 last week, 88 against the Packers, 86 against the 49ers, 50 against the Bears, and 51 against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think the books are accounting for how well the Saints have defended the tight end position, but I think from a pure target perspective and him just being that reliable guy, especially for a guy like Josh Dobbs that likes to find the tight end position, I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson over 49.5 receiving yards here, Chris.
Yeah, this we know how much. To me, there's always a direct correlation between, like, most quarterbacks like their tight end, right? So it's a we always talk about it being a security blanket, but younger quarterbacks specifically, right? Like these are the guys you're kind of really leaning on. And the targets alone from last week, 12 targets, like 12 targets. Like it's really hard for me to bet on a player to go under the following week after they're playing with a new quarterback and they've already found somebody they absolutely love. He could have potentially had 100 receiving yards last week because he only had 7 catches on the 12, on the 12 out of the 12 targets. So I think the books will eventually catch up with this one. Munaf, and I know what's my guy's name? Why can't I think of his name? I'm drawing a blank. The wide receiver.
Addison,
Not Addison. Who's
KJ
coming back?
Osborne,
Not KJ
Justin
Osborne.
Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson. There we go. Justin Jefferson is, I know I think he's been participating, but he's already been ruled out for this week. So he will be back on the field. So to me, it kind of feels like you're getting a steal there too, because he probably will start targeting Jefferson. But while you can still get this at a buy low spot, I think you take advantage of it this week for sure.
Yeah, 100%. All right, that was what, 3 player props each, Chris, that we gave out?
Yeah, that's three each. Yep.
All right, we'll get to our best bets in a minute here. Let's get to our touchdown score bets for this week. You want to lead us off?
Yeah, let's do it. So I got one that I really, really like, and I got one that is a little bit of a long shot as well. The first player I want to talk about is Jonathan Taylor. I think he's in a pretty good spot this week. They're playing against the Patriots defense that they've been kind of giving it up. Bill Belichick defense typically are pretty solid against the rush, but the Commanders had a rushing touchdown last week with Brian Robinson. You look at the Dolphins; they also had a rushing touchdown. They did have 2 weeks in there with no rushing touchdown given up. But the other thing was I went back and just kind of looked at the rush attempts because he does share that backfield with Zach Moss, but he's kind of taken over that. Over the last couple of weeks, from week 10 to from week 7 to week 9, he's dominated the carries, 48 carries over the last couple of weeks, and that's led to just some more success for this team on the ground. I think that they're going to continue to run the ball. Those 48 carries, are actually the fourth most, and the fifth most of any player throughout the last couple of weeks. So outside of Saquon and Deontay Foreman, Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor's right there, even with the prolific running back in the backfield, like Zach Moss. So I like Jonathan Taylor. This one isn't, like the best odds in the world because I think the books are kind of expecting him to get in as well. So maybe you play him at 2, but you can get him at plus 115 right now. The other one I like, is I like Joe Burrow. This one I think is a little sneaky. Joe Burrow to actually get in the end zone, just because I think he's going to continue to have to carry this offense. You look at the Bengals; they'll be without Jamar Chase.
Higgins.
Both of them, right?
So I did see a note right before we started recording here, and I'll try to find it while you give it. But I think that either T. Higgins got ruled out, and then Chase is also questionable. But let me confirm here.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, you look at Burrow. Dude's averaging almost 6 yards a carry in his last 2 games since they had to bye. So he's utilizing his legs a little bit more, and he's down. Even if he is this down, down Higgins, that's still just another weapon that he's out. And in 2 of those 3 games, and 2 of the last 3 games, the Texans have actually given up, touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks. So even though they haven't been necessarily rushing touchdowns, I think they get out and they score in this game. I know you guys are down a couple players, and I say you guys down a couple players. I'm talking about your Texans down a couple players in that secondary. So I think it's maybe you try to put pressure on Joe, and he sneaks out of the pocket and scrambles, because like I said, it's a sneaky one because a lot of people are not going to be looking for Joe to score, but I think Joe could get one this week.
Yeah, so T. Higgins is officially ruled out, and then Jamar Chase is listed as questionable for this week. So, I mean, yeah, I think that we're starting to see this Bengals team be the Bengals team that we all expected at the beginning of the season. They were one of the, I don't want to say favorites, but they were up there as far as Super Bowl favorites, I guess we should say. But they're starting to look like the team. They've also been really good on the defensive side. But I think them being down at least T. Higgins and possibly even Jamar Chase, that Joe Burrow, we talked about the calf injury that he did have early in the season. Now this, maybe that was affecting him mightily, as far as throwing the football. But he's starting to look like the Joe Burrow. And I think that the calf is only getting better week to week. So, definitely, again, look for the best odds for Joe Burrow to find the end zone, because I think this is definitely a sneaky one. I'll stay in the same game here, Chris. So the Texans are going to be without Dameon Pierce. They're going to be without Nico Collins in this game as well. Both guys are dealing with I believe, an ankle injury. So that's going to leave guys like the Tank Dells of the world, the Noah Browns of the world, the world. I'm looking at Dalton Schultz in this game, plus 230 for the Texans to find the end zone here. And we go back to last week, Dalton Schultz. I'll say this, that there's been a rapport and chemistry built between Dalton Schultz and CJ Stroud over the past several weeks here. And Dalton Schultz has recorded a touchdown in 4 out of the last 5 weeks for this Texans offense. And now you being down Nico Collins and Damian Pierce, I think that this should be a big week for Dalton Schultz. So at plus 230 right now for him to find the end zone, I really like that at plus odds. And then also I'm looking at D Hop to find the end zone here as well. DeAndre Hopkins, he's at plus 165 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Buccaneers this year against against a wide receiver position have not been very good, man. They've been giving up the touchdown. Sorry, they've been giving up the yards. They allow the most yards to wide receivers, do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they're also giving up around close to 1.5 touchdowns per game. And I think that we've seen what DeAndre Hopkins was able to do when Will Levis took over as a quarterback for this Titans team for the injured Ryan Tannehill. In that game, he had 3 touchdowns. But I think in the game here where the Buccaneers secondary has been really bad, and only I think the targets are going to go up for D-Hop because last week he had 11 targets, but he only had 4 catches off those 11 targets that resulted in 60 yards. So I'm looking at D-Hop to find the end zone here. Those are 2 guys that I did like to find the end zone here, Chris.
I like him, I love that. It seems like a buy low spot for D-Hop because he only had the 4 catches last week. Another guy, I'll throw out one more. Aaron Jones.
Yes.
You look at the situation that they're in. You got Green Bay going on the road. Jordan Love has looked absolutely horrendous on the road. So I would only imagine that Matt LaFleur and that offensive and quarterback coaching staff would want to kind of protect them a little bit. I also read a report that after 20 carries last week and 4 receptions, they do kind of expect to kind of take the training wheels off of Aaron Jones. We know he was injured throughout the beginning of the season for a large chunk of that, but you gotta want the offense to kind of run through him, especially with the inaccuracy that that Jordan Love has shown. So you can get him at plus 160. I know it's not the sexiest bet, probably low total, but how is Green Bay going to score? And do you expect them to score? Because if you do, I think you've got to love Aaron Jones in this spot. So Aaron Jones, another one at plus 160. I'd be looking at as well, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't hit his rushing yards and receiving yards to go over either in this game. Trying to find that number.
While you look for that, Joe to score is plus 450 on Caesars. Just FYI.
There you go.
Joe Burrow. Little sprinkle on Joe.
Oh yeah, I love that. 53.5 is his number for rushing yards, and then rushing and receiving is probably right around 77.5, 80 maybe 82.5.
82.5.
Yeah, Aaron Jones. I don't hate it. Again, you take a look last week, 20 carries, 73 yards, but he's also getting it done through the air, right? 26 receiving yards last week, 17 against the Vikings, 22 against the Denver Broncos. So I think it just might be a matter of if he's able to get the rush attempts in this game. And again, we know the Steelers this season have not been very good against the running back position as far as yards allowed on the ground.
100 is what Travis Henry had last week. Travis Henry. Derrick Henry had 75 rushing, 27 receiving. So that's a 102. You take a look back the week before, Travis Etienne had 79 and 70 receiving as well. So yeah, this is something that they are definitely vulnerable with. So yeah, I like it a lot. Probably gonna write that one down. I was thinking more touchdown, but yards and just game script wise, like I said, you can't keep putting Jordan Love in these bad situations. This dude couldn't beat the Bears on the road, or the Raiders. So yeah.
And especially if we go back before we get to our best bets, the Rams, who we know have had trouble in the backfield. I mean, they between Darrell Henderson Jr. and Royce Freeman, those 2 guys combined to run for 30 times against the Steelers for a combined 127 yards on the ground. Not much through the air, but again, I think that just kind of tells you where the Steelers' rush defense is at right now, which used to be, just one of the stellar ones in the entire NFL. All right, Chris, let's get over to our best bets for the Week 10 schedule. Why don't you lead us off with your best bet?
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned him enough. I mentioned it as well, man. I love this week for Christian McCaffrey. I absolutely love it. From I love targeting running backs, and for our guys that that want us to take more unders. I kind of thought about Christian McCaffrey, but I can't take Christian McCaffrey under. I'd be scared. It's almost like us. I know we lost on the bet last week, but it's almost like us taking Tyreek Hill. In a 9:30 Eastern Germany game against his old team. No way I could pull the trigger on Travis on Tariq Hill to go under his receiving yards. But McCaffrey, really great spot. I do expect, like I said, a lot of dump downs from Purdy, utilizing McCaffrey. We know what he can do out the backfield, not even just on this team, but when he was in Carolina as well. So this number, will move. I would think maybe up to 33, 34 and a half, but Christian McCaffrey get a couple out the backfield. I'm pretty sure that they're game planning for that as well, knowing that Jacksonville's defense is pretty good. We've seen Christian McCaffrey get this number, from one screenplay. So, give me the over. My best bet, over receiving yards, 30 and a half currently.
Yeah, again, I think for Christian McCaffrey, if he has 3 receptions, he's going to get over this number for sure for the San Francisco 49ers offense. That number now I'm seeing to start creep up to 32 and a half. So this is definitely on the move here. All right, Chris, for my best bet, I'm actually going to go over, give it an additional prop here. I saved this as my best bet. The Sunday night football game. I know it's not the prettiest one. It's a kind of what we saw on Thursday night football. We have the Raiders and we have the Jets facing off. I'm looking at Breece Hall to go over on his rushing yards in this game. That number is currently at 63 and a half. So, number one, the Raiders' rush defense this season has been absolutely terrible. Through the first 9 to 10 weeks here, the Raiders have allowed 7 of the 9 running backs they have faced to go over this projection of 63 and a half. In those 2 games where they didn't allow a single running back to go over this projection, it was a combination of 2 guys or 2 running backs going over this projection as well. So, as a collective group, whether it's been the running back room or whether it's been a single running back against his Raiders rush defense, every one of those teams have gone over this projection of 63 and a half rushing yards. And like I mentioned, 7 of the 9 that they have faced have gone over this projection. Those 2 running backs that didn't, and the combination of the 2 running backs that did go over this as a combined group, Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott. Stevenson had 46 rushing yards, Zeke had 34. Then we'll go all the way back to week 1 against the Denver Broncos. Javonte Williams, 52 rushing yards, and Samaje Perine had 41. So that's 93 right there. So all 9 teams, like I mentioned, the Raiders have faced over this projection, whether it's been a single running back or as a collective group. Now, the Raiders are also allowing the 6th most rushing yards per attempt on the season long. But over the last 3 weeks, that number has gone even worse, where they're allowing the 3rd most rushing yards allowed per attempt. Also, over the last 3 weeks, teams are running on an average of 35.3 times against the Raiders. That's tied for the most with the Seattle Seahawks. So I like what I've seen from Breece Hall. I know he's coming back from the ACL injury, but if you just kind of look at what Breece Hall has been able to do when he does get the handoffs, and I do expect him to get that in this game, he's going to get over this projection. Last 4 weeks, he's been in double-digit rush attempts. Last week alone against the Chargers, 16 times he ran the football for 50 yards. If he gets another anywhere from 12 to 15 in this game again, Chris, I think he's going to get over this number for sure. So give me Breece Hall over 63 and a half rushing yards against the Las Vegas Raiders.
2 words, I'm tailing. You mentioned it, right? Like this Raiders defense, man, they're giving it up to pretty much everybody. I hadn't really looked into this one lot, but 138.7 yards on the ground they're conceding. And I know, that they got the big win the other day after Josh McDaniels got up out of there and they smoking their cigars, and it's a nice party type atmosphere. But you gotta love this spot. Should be a big letdown spot for the Las Vegas Raiders as well. You typically like to fade the team. You buy on the team after they fire a coach, especially if you know that coach hasn't, done well. But you probably want to fade him in the next game. So love this number for Breece Hall, and we'll be tailing this one.
It's also been that Breece Hall's been getting like majority of the carries as well. I know they brought in Dalvin Cook, but he's been getting like 2 rush attempts per game over like the past several weeks. So it's really been the Breece Hall show.
Guy? What?
I don't know what happened. I thought he was doing really good when he was in Minnesota as well. I know it was like a contract thing, but he's just falling off a cliff. And again, there was rumors about him wanting out of the Jets at the trade deadline, but it just didn't happen. So, we'll see if they find ways to utilize him. If not, then he's probably going to be having another team next season. Is Dalvin Cook. So we shall see. All right, Chris, before we get out of here, let's quickly put together our prize picks entries with some of the picks that we do have here as I get over to the screen. So I think both you and I are in agreement about Christian McCaffrey for his receiving yard. So I will put that in. Let me see if I can find McCaffrey here. Christian McCaffrey. All right. Yeah. So it's up to 32.5 over on prize picks. Yeah. So we'll go more on that. I will throw in Breece Hall as well for his rushing yards. Let me go all the way back up. Breece Hall rushing your. Oh, I don't want to bookmark that. Let's go find Breece Hall. Yeah, 63.5. We'll go more on that. Chris, let's throw out one more here that you like from your card.
Let's go Brock Purdy in that one as well, man. I know it's the same game, but I think we got the script for this one, man. Over 30.5 pass attempts. Like I said, Jacksonville, they're giving up. They're forcing teams to pass the ball 42 times per game, which is absolutely insane. I think, just them being at home, having that home field, I think that could potentially kind of dictate pace as well. And then if they do so happen to, play defense the way that they can play defense, that they may end up with San Francisco playing from behind, which will also have to, lead to Brock Purdy having more pass attempts. So I like Purdy to go over his 30.5 pass attempts here as well.
I love it. So Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, and Brock Purdy to have more on their projections this week. That's going to be Christian McCaffrey more than 32.5 receiving yards, Breece Hall more than 63.5 rushing yards, and Brock Purdy more than 30.5 pass attempts. A $100 entry will get you 225 back into your pockets. So hopefully we can cash in on that for sure. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of the Propcast NFL Week 10 player props. Chris, anything else we want to mention before we get out of here, my man?
It's the same as always, man. Enjoy week 10. It should be, a lot of really good games. And like you said, we're finally starting to get the data collection that we need so that we can be even more profitable. It feels like a guessing game at the beginning of the season and we're having to, use past data points. But this is when we should really lock in. If I'm looking forward to, myself and you, just cashing even more. And hopefully the people that are riding with us are, cashing with us also. So, yeah, that's what I got, man. Bet responsibly. Enjoy the games, of course. And let's find some winners, man. Let's cash.
Yeah, man. Let's hopefully we can put some more money in the pockets of our listeners for this week 10 player props show. We'll be back next week as usual for NBA. If you haven't checked out the NBA show with myself and Chris, we're doing pretty well over there as well. So check that out. And then we'll be back next week for the Thursday night football game. Finally, Chris, it's a good football game. We have the it's the Bengals and it's the Ravens, I believe, next Thursday night for. So complete opposite of what we got over the past several weeks on Thursday night football. So definitely looking forward to that. Make sure you follow my man Chris over on X/Twitter at Crispy Cappin with 2 P's and 2 N's. He does a live show on X every single day, Monday through Friday, talking about the NBA. A lot of great information that he gives out, a lot of winners as well. So definitely check him out at that time between around 5:30 Eastern, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So make sure to check it out. I tap in when I can as well for Chris as well. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week. Good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.